Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the zero number 354A aluminum automatic door bottom with neoprene. Take a mental picture of this side. We'll look at the other side. You see that it looks different. It's missing that brass screw that was in there. This is an automatic door bottom by Zero. Okay, so we've got a good look at this item. As you can tell, it is a mortise type automatic door bottom. Let's just start at the beginning with a discussion of automatic door bottoms. First of all, what is it? What does it do? An automatic door bottom is an item that seals the bottom of the door when the door is closed. It's that simple, is the bottom line. Regardless of the type, meaning where it or how it mounts, mortised like this, and this is a special type of mortise, the traditional mortise, a surface mount or a semi-recess mount, they all do the same job. When the door is closed, the very last few degrees of the closing of the door, it drops and seals the bottom of the door. And I'm going to state in this video several times why I believe that they're an elegant solution to the problem of sealing the bottom of the door. So first of all, the 0354 is representative of the fact that this is an automatic door bottom. We're going to classify it as mortised, but it's a specific variant that is intended to be installed into the bottom channel, the inverted bottom channel of a steel door. Below this video is a link to a product brochure. That is a very handy document to be able to review because it will allow you to look at all of the Zero automatic door bottoms, all the products from a single manufacturer in one consolidated sort of view. And it's very helpful in that regard. You'll see that the 354 is on page 3, the last page, and you'll see how it differs from its sister products, the items that are literally on the same page. So how they differ, you can start to see, is pretty obvious. You know, the 354, with its models that are very similar to it, all are intended to go into the bottom inverted channel of a steel door. All hollow metal doors really have that inverted bottom channel. And this item is specifically intended for that application. Now, if you're manufacturing a door or having a door made for you, be sure to indicate to your door manufacturer, make it for this model, okay? So that they can ensure, or at least assume the responsibility, that the height of the inverted bottom channel is compliant with the height required for this unit. I've seen other hollow metal doors that do that have significantly deeper inverted top and bottom channels, and there's a logic behind that, but it wouldn't be compatible with this model. So you'll want to check that out. You want to review the technical drawing. You'll want to see that they're calling out a 3/4 inch height on this unit, but you're going to want to make sure that you're going to have, you know, no more than 1/8 of an inch of this sticking out below the door when it's installed properly. You want to emulate what the drawing is showing you. Now, this unit is offset, as you can see, compared to the other inverted bottom channels that are not. I'm a fan of the offset because I like to get the sealing happening as close to the exterior as possible. I don't even want that water or that weather to get even 3/8 of an inch underneath my door before it's stopped. I like to get it right outside. Also, the threshold or sill condition that you're working with might be more appropriate where you simply offset the automatic door bottom to suit what's happening. You could have an unusual circumstance where there's a sill, just a drop-off of concrete, like the back door of a restaurant in an alley. You might have an unusual condition and your door sweep's not effective at all, so you're going to put this towards the inside because that's all you got because your sill just literally drops off. So that could be another reason why you would use this. Looking at the other sister products to this, you're going to see on the left side of page 3 other mortise types. And those are obviously intended to be going into a wood door. Now, looking at the other mortise types, on page 3, back to page 2, and even to page 1, you'll see that those are all, they're drawn as showing that they're being installed in wood doors, or at least that's the inference that's given. And that is correct. You wouldn't have a steel door that you're going to install one of these on, because it wouldn't be the typical type that you install on a steel door. So all these other mortise types are for wood doors, specifically for non-rated wood doors. If you're mortising them in the field, if it's a fire-rated wood door, you'll want to be absolutely sure that you have ordered the door manufactured for the specific model. You would not be able to field modify that for a couple of reasons. Feel free to reach out to me if you want to discuss that. You'll also see on page page 1, that you've got a semi-mortised style. Couple of instances there, and that's when there's a surface unit that's been mortised flush to the face of the door, that it's a very clean sort of installation. Now, back to the unit that we've got at hand here. Like I said before, this is going to be used on a steel door. I like the fact that it's offset so I can get my barrier as close to the outside as possible, or for those special instances where you need to have it offset. Now, the handing. Well, why is the handing required, you ask? Well, this one's pretty obvious, because it's offset. Okay? So it's not reversible in the field. Because this is asymmetrical, we've got to know the handing at the time of the order so that it can be manufactured properly. There is a the site, when you're ordering it, forces you to select the hand. There is a link below this video, also below the product brochure, to the handing chart that shows the handing of this material for a single door. If you have any questions on how to hand a door, feel free to reach out to me as well. Now, first we're going to discuss the operation of this unit. Then we'll talk about installation, because installation's not a real big deal when you're dealing with something that the door's already made to fit onto, kind of like a surface mount. So the operation of this, again, like we said, when the door closes, the bottom is going to drop. So the operation, again, door closes, the bottom drops. How does it do it? Well, you'll note it earlier that this end has a brass adjusting nut. I might refer to it as the plunger. The other end does not. The end with the plunger is always the hinge side of the door. This is the end that you install on the hinge side. The hand of your door, this has got to be on the side of the jamb, on the jamb side that has your hinges. The opposite end is always the lock side. Okay, now, how does it work? Well, this brass adjusting nut, when you turn it counterclockwise, it will stick out further from the housing. So right now you can kind of see its projection. But when I turn it counterclockwise a few revolutions, turn it out a number of times, and it sticks out further. Now, the amount of projection that the brass adjusting nut sticks out from the edge is directly related to the amount of drop. Okay. Maximum drop on this model is a 1/2 inch, and that's very normal, because you're already going to be sticking out of the door 1/8 of an inch for sure. You'll have a threshold. So if you've got a standard undercut of 3/4 inch on a hollow metal door, you're already going to be sticking out from the bottom of that 1/8 of an inch. You're going to have a sill, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, something in that range. So this will be appropriate, given the fact that it has a maximum drop of a 1/2 inch. Now, so how far out this is turned is related to the drop. As the door is closing, this end on the hinge will come in contact with the frame. This will come in contact with the rabbet of the frame, actually. And when it does so, it has nowhere to go, because the frame's not moving. This has nowhere to go but in, and that's how it works. This, when the plunger is depressed, when I depress this, fail. The unit works, it's just too stiff of a spring for my hand to actually actuate it, so I'm going to put it on the edge of my desktop. Didn't test that before I tried to make it work. Oh, that's my mistake. I'm literally grabbing the housing as I'm trying to make it work. This might be a difficult demonstration. Okay, bear with me here. Sorry about that pause there. I had to make sure I was, that this item worked, and it indeed, of course, does. So this item, the adjusting screw, is depressed. The amount of force it takes is something easily that a door can generate to close that very easily, and it will drop. However, I can't generate that sort of force just with my finger. So as I put it on the end of my desk, and then I grab the extrusion, the item pops out. And I'm going to stick my finger in here so that I can leave it retracted. And it drops down like this. Not exactly like this, but similar to this. And here's what I mean by that. It does indeed drop down unevenly. And that's how it is supposed to work. And I'm going to snap it back into the housing. So when the plunger or the adjusting nut, the brass nut, is depressed, which is connected to a flat spring, it compresses the flat spring, causing it to bow. That bowing action causes the seal bar, that inner, or in this case, the outer portion that's here, to drop, just like that. Okay, but it does so like a knife edge. So it drops on this model, drops like this, then the balance of it will drop down, and that is also the way it's designed, because this model will contour itself to an uneven sill condition or a door that's no longer plumb. That makes it elegant for sure. Also, speaking of the fact that it will contour itself to a sill that's not level is very handy, because generally if you're using this, it's on a hollow metal door, and you might be faced with an unusual floor condition or something that's occurring that is beneficial for you to get a real good seal in such a way that you are dropping it in that sort of scissors action. Okay. It is normal for the spring power to be greater than what the hand can generate. Plus, in order for me, because the entire dropping seal bar mechanism is outside of this housing, it's difficult for me to get my hand on it to show you that it works like I would a normal unit. It just takes more pressure than I can generate with my hand. But the normal operation, it drops and seals down. Elegant solution. Now, all of the automatic door bottoms work in this fashion. They all work on this principle, I should say. Now, if I was going to be ordering this, I would measure my doors. I would not order them 36-inch in length. I would measure them the exact length that is necessary for the job. The reasoning is this. Zero is manufacturing this material from long lengths, 12 or 16-foot extrusions of material, let's say. They've got to cut it to 36-inch or 48 or whatever you need it made to. Why not just have them cut it to the exact length you need? And what I would do, and what I have done, is I would measure the inside cavity of my door on the bottom channel. And I would measure what the clear inside opening is. Then I would deduct about 1/8 of an inch. No more, it's not necessary. But if your door is 35 3/4, well, that inside channel dimension is certainly not going to be that. It will be noticeably less. And depending on the door construction and the door manufacturer, that might be something that can be 1/4 inch less, or maybe just 1/8 of an inch less, or even less than that. But don't assume you know what it is, because you don't want to end up having to recut it. Just measure it. Now, it's not practical in all instances for you to actually measure those. The job site might be 100 miles away, one way. It is totally permissible for you to trim this in the field. A 3-foot unit like this is going to allow you, looking at this unit, about 2 inches of trim, because I'm looking on the inside inner construction of this, and I can see that there's a block. See that screw an inch away from where my pinky is pointed? That's an indication of where the inner assembly is. So you're going to want to stay well away from that. If you're dealing with a door that's 30-inch or smaller, or 3-foot or smaller, really, don't count on much room to trim it down. If you're dealing with a door that's 48-inch, you'll have that couple of inches of trim. So if you can, get the actual dimension, just let Zero cut it. They're going to put a factory edge on it. They're going to assume responsibility for getting it right. You're going to show up to the job and just make it happen because it'll be that much less work. And then, of course, no opportunity for you to cut the wrong side, which has happened, or to also damage the product. Now, regarding installation, these are really easy. And there's a link below this video showing the installation as an illustrated sort of condition. You'll see here for the metal doors only, step 1, cut the automatic door bottom to 3/16 less than the full door width. That's going to be a pretty good guess, and I didn't read that before. I would measure it. I've seen different doors. I've seen different door constructions where you've got more steel than not, but 3/16 is probably going to always suit. And if you can't actually measure it, then I would probably go with that, or I might opt to go 1/4 inch. This is my opinion. I'm not saying what you should do, because they will always ship out the seal material long. You can trim that a little. You'll have to trim it a little bit. And by the way, this is neoprene. We haven't discussed that. Just typical bulb style neoprene that's slid into there. 2 rows of it, as you can tell. That's going to make for a real effective seal. You got to know the hand before you order it. That's part 2. Part 3, drill a 7/16 hole at the lower edge of the door on the hinge side. See the illustration. This is to allow the extension of the adjusting nut to make contact with the jamb. So this thing has got to stick out of the edge of the door, obviously, the adjusting nut, and that's what the 7/16 hole is. So you're going to want to mark that off as it's indicated in detail A of these instructions. It's going to be 1/2 inch from the bottom to the center line. It's going to be 5/8 over from, from depending on the hand of the door, but 5/8 from the face if you're dealing with the housing tucked up against, the inside of what you're dealing with. It's asymmetrical, so you'll be able to determine that very easily if you've got it in the right location or not, and then vice versa. Install the automatic door bottom. Slide the unit in, make sure the brass adjusting nut has got clearance for the 7/16 hole. Once it's underneath, you're going to attach it with the screws that are included. Okay, holes are provided in the flange. You can see them there. 5, once the door is installed, the final adjustment to the automatic door bottom can be made by turning the brass nut in or out to control the drop. Max drop is 1/2 inch. So when you get it screwed to the bottom of the door, make sure that your brass adjusting nut is basically flush to the edge of the door, or projecting out not more than 1/8 inch. Once you get that installed and you're satisfied that it's attached properly, start to test the operation of the door, meaning back out the brass adjusting nut 1/8 inch. Test the operation of your door is what you're going to end up doing. And as you're testing the operation of the door, you're going to watch as you push the door closed just the last few degrees. You're going to notice the drop on the unit itself. Get it to the point where it's sealing continuously across. You'll notice that it will drop on the one end, then you're going to bring it down as we illustrated earlier. You want the unit to seal. You don't want undue pressure pushing down, because what will happen in that event is when you go to open the door up, the brass adjusting nut, because it's connected to that flat spring, ought to immediately begin to decompress, forcing the seal bar to rise back up into its housing. If you've got so much pressure on the flat spring, the door is being opened and the drop bar is going to be dragged across the floor and damaged, and that's a problem. It will damage the unit immediately. because of the design of what these are, all you're doing is sealing. You're just pushing against the sill itself, or the threshold. That that aspect of automatic door bottoms, especially these, allow for a very long life expectancy. I've known automatic door bottoms to be installed over decades of use because they're not dragging across a concrete sill, they're not dragging across a high polished floor or a terrazzo floor. So you can expect a significant lifespan out of the neoprene that's in here because it's not dragging along. Again, that sort of operation makes it elegant because you're using a device that you can know up front is going to solve your problem, solve the solution, and do so very effectively for a very long time, making it an elegant solution. Dimensionally, before we wrap this up, you've got 1 3/8 inches. So that's going to be pretty appropriate for getting it stuck underneath or inside of a steel door, the inverted channel. Then you're going to have 3/4 inch overall, you're going to have 7/8 overall height. That appears to be pretty much the case there. Okay. Now, if I've sold 10,000 of these, there'd be one time when a client does mention something, and the only negative thing really that has ever been mentioned, and I only say it because I've had it said to me, is that a person noted, I don't like it because it's loud. I can hear it when you open the door. You can hear the seal bar snap back up into the housing, and it's true, you can. There's no doubt about it. This model does not feature any sort of deadening between the drop bar and its upper housing, where other models from Zero do. If you refer back to the product brochure, you'll see where there are models that indeed do that. Now, an example of that rubber that's there to mute the retraction, if you pulled up the product brochure, you can see a direct reference to it in the 364AA. It's the one on page 1. It says anti-squeak rubber, and that's what it is. You do hear it, there's no doubt. You also hear the knob turning and the latch striking the frame, strike plate, and the door closer, etc. I only mentioned it because it's been mentioned to me. To me, the solution is so elegant that I overlook the fact that you do hear it, and there is no doubt that you do. Now, Zero is a full-line manufacturer of all things commercial weather stripping, and if you were to review the link to their product catalog, you'll see, and if you're in the industry, if you make a living in the installation aspect of doors and hardware, you'll want to familiarize yourself, because what you'll see is unique solutions to problems that really only Zero has taken the time to solve, and I'm partial to them because of the amount of thought that they've put into this stuff. And I wouldn't hesitate to use it on any project of mine personally, nor would I hesitate to suggest that anyone else do so either. There's other than the screws, I did just notice there was a white plastic little doodad right there, and that little doodad, whatever it's really called, pops into that receiver and the brass adjusting nut, so that every time it's making contact with the rabbet of the frame, it's giving it a little bit of buffer between wearing your paint off, etc., whatever the case might be. Available in several different lengths. Order the exact length that you need, otherwise get as close as you possibly can to ensure that you can cut it down. Never calculate more than 2 inch, and if it's less than 3 foot, don't count on being able to cut it down at all, because sometimes it gets so small that they have no room to get the rest of the mechanism inside the housing and need to make it for that size and not plan on any sort of future trimming. Any questions on the 0354A inverted bottom channel steel door, automatic door bottom, or any other Zero product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.